today's youth benefited from long history of youth-led democracy building. Okay, yet signs of disenchantment with democracy continue to surface among Filipino despite affirmations of the potential of democracy. So the question is, how does the current state of Filipino youth affect their participation to democratic governance? So we will find out the results of the survey conducted by YouthLed's partner social weather stations, or SWS, the chief of party of the YouthLed project under the Asia Foundation. Our speaker is a thought leader in the field of education, civic participation in youth, with over 2 decades of executive leadership experience in the private and non-profit sectors. Recognized both locally and internationally for her work on civic engagement, she has convened and led several organizations and initiatives that promote social responsibility, good governance, and democratic citizenship. Friends, please welcome on our virtual stage, Miss Natalie Christine Jorge.
Good afternoon. We thank you for your presence here today as we share the highlights of the 2021 Youth Survey of YouthLed, which we developed in partnership with the Social Weather Stations, or SWS. We thank our panelists this afternoon, Honorable Sarah Jane Elago and Ms. Hyacinth Brendania. This report focuses on Filipino youth well-being and aspirations, civic participation, and political participation. It is designed in a manner that provides an opportunity to delve deeper into subtopics and themes that can allow for a more holistic understanding of the Filipino youth. Our objectives for the survey is to provide comprehensive insight to Filipino youth today that can help guide YouthLed's agenda and interventions for positive youth development, provide policy recommendations and insights that can contribute to the development of the 2022 Philippine Youth Development Plan, and serve as a resource for government, civil society, academia, youth organizations, and multilateral organizations with an interest in youth development and research. So for the survey, we interviewed 4,900 young Filipinos aged 15 to 30 across all regions and in 32 major cities and areas. Majority of the respondents are from Class D, which represents the largest bulk of families in the Philippines. The survey was conducted from March 14 to 29, 2021 through face-to-face interviews using a structured questionnaire with visuals. We had 147 questions in this survey. We will be presenting highlights on Filipino youth well-being and aspirations, Filipino youth and civic participation, Filipino youth and political participation. Filipino youth's outlook on the quality of life gained a net optimism score of 72 compared to youth from 25 years ago, with a net optimism score of 46, and from adults from June of 2021 with a net optimism score of 30. We are encouraged by the optimism evidenced by the survey, and we will further determine causes of optimism through FGDs. When asked to identify the 3 most important aspirations and life goals, 72% of young Filipinos identified to help parents and siblings financially, 36% to live independently from parents, and 29% said to get a college degree. Other top mentions include to start their own business and to have meaningful work. With work opportunities, 33% say that they have enough good opportunities from where they are based, and 23% say that while there are opportunities where they live, they prefer to work elsewhere in the Philippines. Only 8% of the respondents would prefer to work and live abroad than in the Philippines, and only 7% don't know where to find opportunities for work. 67% of young Filipinos say they have good health, compared to 51% of young Filipinos in response to the same question in 1996. This is also higher compared to the response of Filipino adults of 63% in response to the same question in a survey conducted in June of 2019. A large majority of young people feel pride in being a Filipino. 81% feel very proud and 16% feel quite proud, compared to only 69% of youth who felt very proud in 1996. This is true across all areas and social demographics. For Filipino youth and civic participation, we would like to highlight the main source of information about youth responsibilities as a Filipino citizen. We looked at voting, paying taxes, and following the law. So the highest source of information is the home at 24%, followed by traditional mass media at 20%, high school 17%, social media 16%. This data shows the strong influence of the home in building the foundation for civic education. This is also evident in the results for the highest influencer for the youth in political decision making, which we will show in later slides. 14 statements were presented to the respondents to determine their degree of agreement to assess knowledge in civil rights and responsibilities. These are 5 examples of the statements. We note that majority of young Filipinos express agreement with statements relating to their rights and responsibilities as citizens. But it also tells us areas to focus on with regards to governance and accountability, especially with communicating and engaging with government leaders. So I am confident in expressing my own political opinions. Only 57% of youth agreed with the statement. I have the right to hold my government accountable. Only 50% of young Filipinos agreed with this statement. The survey also presented the respondents with 16 individual and collective civil and political actions. So activities they have done, haven't done, might do in the future, and haven't done and would never do. So examples of these are 60% have liked or shared political or social posts on social media like Facebook or Twitter. 54% have sought out news about political issues. 33% have followed a politician, political commentator, or political account on social media like Facebook or Twitter. And 27% have posted their own thoughts, comments on political social issues on social media. The results shown here reflect individual civil and political actions, many of them online. Opportunities presented by online civic engagement are vast and allow for innovative and creative contributions from the youth. But alongside online engagement is the support and guidance needed for discernment and civic minded participation. Okay. So, of importance are results that show activities that the youth identify they have not done and would not do regardless of the situation. Top activities are identified here, such as taking part in a political demonstration or strike, joining a political group on social media, running for or holding public office, joining a political party, joining a civil society organization, or participating in a movement for a particular advocacy. So many of these activities represent collective political engagement except for running or holding a government position. But we also take note that across all areas, youth or student organizations at 45% is still the top organization that youth participate in, which is still the main entry point for youth civic and political engagement. We are encouraged to note that when presented with issue-based advocacies, rather than general modes of collective political participation, such as joining a political party, Filipino youth were more likely to take action. So the survey results tell us that young Filipinos are more likely to take collective action on poverty, violence and abuse against women and children, lack of access to quality education, climate change, and response to the COVID-19 crisis. So the survey tells us that there is high interest for online individual political engagement. The opportunities presented by engagement can allow for innovative and individualistic contributions and expression from the youth. Issue based advocacies, which is a strategy of YouthLed, is a way of drawing out the interests of young people and also gives them a platform to share their voices and participate in collective action through coalitions in issues that matter most to them. While these opportunities are there, the challenge lies in ensuring guidance on democratic engagement. Philippine statistics data for 2020 show that in a population of 110 million Filipinos, youth, or 15 to 29, represent 30% of the Philippine population, the largest generation of Filipino youth to date. There are 61 million registered voters, those registered below the age of 35 total to about 30 million, or close to 50% of the voting population. Historically, voters under the age of 35 count for 50 to 52% of the voting population. Of importance to note would be the population among 10 to 14-year-olds, 10 million, and 30 to 34-year-olds, 8 million, which also form our youth audience for YouthLed. We presented the youth with 22 issues and asked them to rate the performance of the national administration in response to these issues. We highlight 8 of these issues in this slide. Majority of youth are dissatisfied with the rising costs of goods and inflation at 72%, 65% on violence and abuse against women and children, 66% on corruption in government, 57% lack of access to justice, 37% dissatisfaction in response to the COVID-19 crisis, 62% on poverty, 61% on human rights violations, and 56% on policies against illegal drug trade and use. So this data shows the awareness of youth in these issues, and this data also is also true across all areas and social demographics. Main reasons why the youth vote are true across most areas. We take note of the percentage of youth who have not voted because they are not registered. This validates youth interventions and stresses the importance of voter registration campaigns as well as early registration for the youth. On opinions on the upcoming 2022 elections, 86% agree and 3% disagree with the statement, young people like me can make a change in society by actively campaigning and voting for candidates we believe in the coming May 2022 elections. 75% of youth also believe that voting will be clean, safe, and proper in their precincts. We are encouraged by these statements as we can see the enthusiasm for voting, and it aligns with YouthLed's call for voter education and participation. The youth cite television news coverage at 45% and word of mouth 44% as a main source of information about the elections or electoral candidates. Other sources include social media at 31%, election debates 30%, television ads 25%, with radio ads, newspaper, and official campaign websites coming up towards the bottom of the list. In terms of sources of news, 39% of young people watch the news on TV daily, and 38% say they use social media to look for news. 13% use the radio as their source of news information. The newspaper is the least used media source for the youth, with 70% not even reading the newspaper once a week. Overall, this slide shows how young people use social media. 74 use social media to watch entertainment videos. 60% get updates from family and friends. 40% use social media to learn something useful. 36% play online games. 27% look for news. 14% to earn money, and 11% to express personal sentiments. We asked the youth who is the biggest influence for their vote. The results show that the greatest influence in Filipino youth's decision on whom to vote for at the national level is the endorsement of one's family at 54%, followed by political experts 29%. These findings remain consistent across all age groups and social demographic status. Similar with the decision on whom to vote for, youth also look to family at 59%, understands on political issues, and look to their family as a guide, 57%, on their support for government policies and activities. We also take note of the results for youth leadership in formal and government positions. Most youth do not agree that young people should run for certain government posts. Of all positions, only the post of barangay captain at 49% got the approval of the youth. For other positions, 64% say that young people should not run for Congress, 70% say that young people should not run for governor, and 59% say that young people should not run for mayor. So we will be conducting further study to validate the results of youth leadership, running in formal government positions. Part of political participation is encouraging more young people to run for public office, and this gives us information on how we can frame strategies and work on political education, training, and engagement. In this survey, we identified two major youth structures that support youth engagement and governance structures for youth in the country: the National Youth Commission and the Sangguniang Kabataan. Only 17% of youth are aware of the National Youth Commission, a decrease from 26% from youth's awareness in 1996. On the other hand, 88% are aware of the Sangguniang Kabataan, which is the political structure that allows the youth to engage in and with local government. For youth in Philippine democracy, 70% of Filipino youth are satisfied with the way democracy works in the country. This is higher compared to 55% satisfaction from youth in 1996. Satisfaction is highest in Mindanao at 24%, followed by Visayas at 72% and Luzon 56%. We also note high satisfaction results in Davao City, 97%, Region 11 Davao del Norte at 96%, while it is 55% satisfaction in NCR, 53% in Region 5 or Bicol. 11% of Filipino youth say the Philippines has a full democracy, 54% say a democracy but with minor problems, 29% say a democracy with major problems, and only 5% say that the Philippines is not a democracy. The results of the survey indicate that on average, Filipino youth understand the meaning of democracy in terms of social equality, 33%, good governance, 25%, norms and procedures, 22%, and freedom and liberty, 19%. So we will be delving deeper into the meaning of democracy based on these parameters through FGDs, especially in areas that have resulted in high and low satisfaction ratings for democracy. We will also study existing democratic and political structures vis-a-vis the results of the satisfaction ratings. So all these data can be further broken down by area and by social demographic profile. So some key takeaways from the initial batch of slides. As evidenced by the survey, young Filipinos are more inclined toward individual civic political action online and on issue-based collective action. Engagement among the youth is more personalized and individualistic and is reflective of personal interests and self expression. There is less interest in politics but more focus on social issues and social change. We are encouraged that this generation of Filipinos feel very proud in being a Filipino, and we find that it's also an opportunity to look deeper into national identity and nationalism. Family has emerged to be the strongest political influencer of the youth, and strategies for engagement and civic education will recognize this. The upcoming presidential election in 2022 provides an opportunity to activate, organize, educate, and encourage participation through dialogues, debates, and the contribution to a youth policy and agenda. With more leisure, recreation, and economic opportunities available, as well as access to a range of online platforms, we have a generation of youth with a more positive outlook for their future. While we celebrate the aspirations, independence, and creativity of the youth, we also recognize their vulnerabilities and the barriers that make it difficult for them to achieve their dreams. Youth-led programs will seek to determine these challenges and provide interventions where youth can be more energized, capacitated, and empowered to reach their goals. So thank you very much for your time and listening to this presentation.
Thank you so much, Miss Jorge, for providing the data from that survey. Maraming salamat po. Nakita po natin yung iba't ibang salik ng youth participation. So thank you so much. And definitely, what Miss Jorge shared is just the tip of the iceberg. But this survey results present a lot of opportunities for youth leadership and democratic engagement.